you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah.
This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
Yeah, we are.
That is unbelievable.
You should believe it.
Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I do.
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein.
Believe it. I'm not laughing. You're laughing. First and foremost, what even is that Trump filibuster? Are you guys still interested? Are you guys still interested in that? Wow, I'm shocked because we are doing both amazing things in Texas. There are devastating and amazing. And what is most compelling to me, by the way, about the Trump filibuster is that it requires us to be so gaslit that we completely forget that nobody made more of a show of the Jeffrey Epstein files and the release of those files than the person sitting to the right of him, Pam Bondi. That's why we're here. Pam Bondi was the one who notoriously handed out binders to a bunch of online influencers on February 27th. Okay, that was supposed to be apparently phase one. Emily Austin. Nobody really knows who Emily Austin is, other than the fact that she's a radical Zionist that is currently being shoved down our mouths. They're like, you will take her, and they're desperately trying to make this girl happen. And somehow, at the beginning of her influencing career, she gets invited to the White House and is handed an Epstein binder.
I saw y'all on the internet coming for Kash Patel saying he's day 5 and we haven't gotten Epstein files. Well, I'm here outside the West Wing, and look at what we got today. The Epstein files, baby. Let's make America safe again.
Strangely, not a single individual there had been critical of Israel in any way. But somehow this young woman, Emily Austin, who virtually no one had heard of, was there. And I want to be clear, when I say like the level of Zionist that this girl is, and they are trying to make like fetch happen, she knows nothing, and they just keep putting her in front of a camera.
He keeps saying that Iran's not a threat to America. So since Scott decided to become Iran's mouthpiece, can you please clarify for me what Khomeini means when he says death to America, death to the West, and forceful conversions? Can you translate in the language that you so clearly understand that all of us are missing? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, Khomeini died in 1989. You don't know what you're talking about. Second of all, the chant, you'll notice all of
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Zionist is someone that believes that Israel has a right to exist.
So you're a Zionist?
Yeah. Are you not?
You're right. No.
Why not?
Why would I be a Zionist?
Thanks.
All right. Peace out, man.
You're a good boy.
Why's my mom calling me, bro? My mom's calling me.
Are you still talking about...
All right, what's up, guys? I'm coming to you live from Tampa. Well, maybe not live, but hey, it's the best we're going to get because I'm not live streaming today. But as you guys know, some breaking news coming out. There's some talk about Dan Bongino, Deputy Director of the FBI, as well as Kash Patel, the Director of the FBI, stepping down from incompetence from Bondi, sorry. And basically, let me go ahead and explain kind of what's going on. As you guys know, Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire that was backed by Les Wexner, we all know that he was an asset for the Israeli government intelligence. And long story short, the files were supposed to be declassified. We're supposed to get the client list and all this other stuff. Never came out, and the DOJ sent out a sparse letter basically saying something along the lines of, oh, hey, nothing to see here, no client list, and he killed himself, right? Which we all know is bullshit, right? And it makes it even worse because a lot of the people from the Trump administration didn't believe the original story either. So for them to now be in positions of power, high levels of the Department of Justice and FBI, and to come out and say, oh yeah, nothing to see here, looks really bad. CNN's been beating up the Trump administration about this. ABC, all the liberal media have been, running with this and kind of saying like, look, MAGA had all these conspiracy theories. Now they're coming out and saying that there's nothing to see here. So this is really bad. Now, from the Bongino and Kash Patel perspective, this makes them look really bad because keep in mind, Bongino is a very respected podcaster in the conservative space. He said it himself that he wasn't going to let go of this Epstein case thing. So for the DOJ to release this letter, he feels as though they were kind of blindsided. Because just so you guys know, with the U.S. government, DOJ is here, FBI is here. And a lot of the times, the DOJ can do things without the FBI necessarily being involved or knowing. So if they release a letter saying, hey, we're kind of shutting this thing down, that could catch the FBI off guard. Now, the other thing I think that's also important for you guys to understand is that when it comes to this Epstein thing, let me be honest with y'all, we're never going to get it. And the reason why is because when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, there's going to be a criminal case, which we already know about with him and Ghislaine Maxwell, but there's also going to be an high side. And since he was an intelligence asset for a foreign government, I guarantee you there's probably going to be a bigger CIA file on him than an FBI file. And the reason why is because CIA focuses more on international intelligence and counterintelligence versus the FBI focuses on domestic. So the FBI just has one piece of the pie, but the reality is all the different components of the intel community are going to more than likely have a file on Epstein. And getting that stuff is extremely bureaucratic and painful. Trust me, I know, being a former government agent with a clearance. Now, that's not to absolve responsibility from the FBI or the DOJ, but I do think it's important for the American public to understand that the FBI is only going to have a piece of the pie. But they could even bring their piece of the pie to the equation and declassify and show what was really going on. And this is just an L on the entire government. And the reality is, it took us, 60 plus years to get the JFK files? Guys, we're not going to get the Epstein files within the next 40 to 50 years, to be honest with y'all, because there's people that's probably still alive. Obviously, this is a very tumultuous time for Israel, the state. They're in the middle of a war. Their approval ratings are at the lowest they've ever been. So there's no way they're releasing these files. And, you add in someone like Pam Blondie, who's incompetent, Christy Nome, etc. Let's be honest, man. These are bimbos that got their positions more because they're loyalists and because they're women than them actually being competent, because when Trump was on the campaign trail, he was constantly being accused of being a misogynist, a sexist, a bigot. So appointing women to positions of power within his cabinet, would kind of absolve him of those criticisms. But the reality is that these women are bimbos, right? Christy Nome's more concerned with dressing up and looking good and pointing fucking rifles at ICE officers. And Pam Bondi is more interested in doing Fox interviews where she's saying, it's on my desk to be reviewed. And then when it does get reviewed, nothing gets released. So that's kind of what's going on. So basically, Bongino's furious. He took the day off. They're talking about he's contemplating resigning. So is Kash Patel, and they're both not happy with Pam Bondi, according to multiple different sources. I think Laura Loomer broke the story first, so I'll give her credit. But multiple sources now are coming out saying that both of them aren't happy with it, and Bongino might resign as early as Monday, and Kash Patel might follow. So that's kind of what's going on, guys, here. This is a big blunder on the entire government, not just the FBI, because I'll tell you guys this, I guarantee you it's not just the Bureau that has information on Epstein. I would wager that the CIA probably has an even bigger file, given the nature of how he was collecting information for a foreign government, and that is the CIA's main jurisdiction. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that little update video.
Hey, Shalom, Yasharala, peace be to the nation of Israel. Humanamade, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and speckled Israelites, being Israelite foreigners scattered across the four corners of the earth, including within America, Babylon the Great, the main place for our captivity. And we are the Most High Yahweh, chosen people of the nation of Israel. So without further ado, as always, in the Lashwan Kadash, meaning the holy tongue, is in the Paleo Hebrew, meaning the ancient Hebrew. I'm going to give all praises, glory, infinite honor to my power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who is the God of the living, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yashai Barach Kodash, which is all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, whom is our strength and our Redeemer, and our light and our salvation. In the same tongue, Adamashana Kabawadium, Allah Hasakwanium, Shal, Galawabaka, meaning double honors to the apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone for teaching and ruling well. And Shalom, honors and salutations to Bayashid Abadah, the house of David, of the 1/3 elected remnant of the nation of Israel, along with the rest of the 1/3 elect men, women, and children of Israel. All right, so fellow servant Malak Rayab, she's back at it again with another lesson through the spirit of prophecy, being a testimony of our Lord and Savior, Hamashiach Yahushai, who the master of the world ignorantly refers to Jesus Christ. All right, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to go ahead and entitle this video, which is about the another installment of the stream I initially did that I went ahead and took down due to some connection issues, tampering with the video quality, as well as the audio quality as well. So, this is the next installment or a reinstallment of that initial stream I did on this lesson, going into the shame that's being further casted on the glory of Esau, Edom, okay, specifically through this Trump administration, by way of the exposure of Trump's affiliation with Epstein, and how, as this reported here on people.com says, Trump lashes out at reporter for asking about Jeffrey Epstein. We saw the video, reported on by Candace Owen, Candace Owens. All right, how he, his response and body language towards that female journalist question about, the whole Epstein scandal. It was very sus. It's his the tone of his voice and his body language being fidgety. Just further indicates that he's guilty. Okay, because he was on edge when asked about the whole Epstein situation. Okay, which we're gonna further explore more details of his body language momentarily, but this is a further omen or ensign that Esau Edom is losing his power. Okay, which is within discretion on the left hand side. Okay, but being that the rulers of the darkness of this world, who he gets his orders from, is being further exposed by becoming more of household names on behalf of the Rothschild banking dynasty. Okay, aka the Zionist international crime banking families and their lower level constituents, being exposed, including these bought and paid for politicians on behalf of the ish lobbyists and so forth. And everyone in general that is associated with these devils are being exposed. Why? Because he cut off the head of the snake, and there you have it. Okay, that's why more of this wickedness is being brought to the light in terms of the perverseness, and the sexual decadence, associated with sex trafficking and whoredom, which is wickedness according to the Torah or the Torah that those gutter rats refer to, pronounced in ancient Hebrew as Tabarah, would condemn, regarding sex trafficking and whoredom, as it says in Leviticus 19 and 29 and so forth. So it further confirms that America, Babylon the Great, is a sinful kingdom, okay, pursuing Amos 9 and 8, Revelation 18 and so forth, that is being internally destroyed before that external judgment comes, all right, through thermonuclear destruction, all right, in the midst of this last world's war, Armageddon. So, says here, the president seemed shocked by reporters' question just one day after the release of a major FBI memo about the late billionaire. Says Trump snapped at a reporter for asking a question about Epstein on Tuesday, July 8th. As I quote him, "Are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable," the president said. The question came just a day after the FBI and DOJ released a joint memo claiming a long-rumored Epstein client list never existed. Now, but further, exposed this Trump administration, looking suspect, okay, and ultimately because he's guilty, for being, an affiliate of Epstein. Is this footage of him partying with Epstein, pointing out young girls and, essentially pointing them out to be groomed, okay, which behind the scenes, off camera, this is the activity these devils are into, grooming these young girls on behalf of Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, you know what I'm saying, and grooming these young girls to be, sex slaves, and so forth. All right. Which further, exposes the corruption, of the rulers of the darkness of this world and their lower level constituents, i.e. these politicians and so forth. Okay. And like it says in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, how corruption is being overpassed, roughly paraphrasing. Why? Because as it says in Isaiah 19 and 3, the spirit of Egypt is failing them, which is bondage, through the bondage of the enchantments of Esau's satanic devices, through his politics, through his Western propaganda, using these narratives to to regulate their agenda and to keep people docile, distracted from the intricate details of wickedness of their agenda, such as this whole Epstein scandal, for example. They're all exposing these devils, man. Okay. So before I continue, I'm going to bring out a few precepts, starting in Proverbs 13 and 9. All right. And it reads, "The light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out." You see, lamp represents the foundation or the source of something. And that light is symbolic of wisdom, knowledge, understanding. Okay. In Esau's, in Esau's case, his manner of wisdom, knowledge, understanding on the left-hand side is sensual and devilish, as it says in St. James 3 and 15. All right. And that's why Sirach, the 19th chapter, says the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, roughly paraphrasing. Okay, let me get that real quick. All right. In the book of Sirach, chapter 19. And 22. The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence. You see, so and this further confirms that this further exposes the devil Esau, Edom, the subclane white man, whom is a devil the Bible speaks of, the son of the man of sin and son of perdition, as in destruction, not having any prudence whatsoever, not having any foresight of evil coming, because he's fully engulfed in evil, and which has made him more emboldened to be proud in his manner of evil, his manner of wisdom, knowledge, understanding that exposes his evil, profane, and vile nature to be the devil the Bible speaks of, the basis of all men in Daniel 4:17, whose wicked hands the earth was given into. And that's why this earth is in shambles, because he's ruling it, destroying everything, every manner of life, through the water, through the food, the minds of women and children, the minds of men. Okay. Further increasing moral decay. Okay. Further, and perverseness and wickedness. Okay. And this, which is what this Epstein case, further represents, the true nature of Esau, Edom, that he's trying to hide. All right. So bring a little bit more. Matter of fact, let me get this next precept. All right. So that's why, this is Job 18 and 12 in the AMP. Okay. And it says, the strength of the wicked is famished and weakened. Now let's get the King James Version first for context. All right. It says, his strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. All right. And to be hunger bitten is to have, is to be unfulfilled within a particular appetite. So being that Esau has an insatiable appetite for destruction, including shedding the blood of the saints, the Israelites. Okay, even to this day, hence the Alcatraz FEMA camps, a FEMA camp and other FEMA camps in El Salvador and so forth being set up to justify House and Jakes to be tortured and put to death. Just further showcases his true, vile, satanic, profane nature as a scoundrel, as a degenerate, a sexual deviant and miscreant. All right. Ultimately the devil. All right. So it says his strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. Why is that? Let's get the AMP version. It says the strength of the wicked is famished and weakened, and disaster is ready at his side if he stops. Meaning what? If he stops indulging in his insatiable appetite for destruction, he's going to continue. He's going to grow more weakened and famished. No different than somebody being hungry and not feeding themselves will grow weak in the flesh. And that's the whole, perspective of being hunger bitten, all right? Being unfulfilled, within a particular appetite. It just simply means that Esau's appetite for global dominion at the expense of many lives through his manner of, his approach of destruction, through the influence of his military industrial complex, the extension of his blessing, the sword, okay? His witchcraft through the politics and the propaganda, and, the technology and so forth, okay, is being diminished from him because the Lord Yahweh Shemeshai is diminishing the source of all those satanic devices, which is ultimately the spiritual demon Satan, okay, from Esau, Edom. This is why he's being further exposed. And there's nothing he can do about that. This is why his strength is being hunger bitten. Why? Because the lamp of the wicked is being put out regarding his light, his sensual, devilish wisdom, knowledge, understanding, which is not wisdom, as we just read about in Sirach 19 and 22. And that's why he's being exposed, man. Okay, it's because there's another, end time indication that this devil is losing his power. So let's get another quick precept in Proverbs 5 and 22, and also in AMP. All right, and it says the iniquities done by a wicked man will trap him, and he will be held with the cords of his sin. Meaning what? He's being entrapped by his own wicked nature. As a way of testifying against him, which is very ironic in the spirit. All right, because ultimately, once again, sex trafficking, which is tied to Epstein, is wickedness. Okay, let's go and read that in terms of the whoredom, in terms of the umbrella of whoredom that it falls under, being wicked according to the laws of Yahweh by Shemeshai. So this is Leviticus 19 to 29. It says, do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. So Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's accomplice, was clearly guilty of that. So being that DJT is a friend of Epstein, whether he's still alive or not, okay, is sus in the way that he tries to run away from that friendship, okay, by labeling the guy a creep. Well, by default, that'll make you a creep because they say you are who you hang out with. Okay, you are who you surround yourselves with, or you are who you surround yourself with, you see. So it's not a good look for Agent 47, DJT, who we believe to be that cruel Lord in Isaiah 19:4. Nero Caesar reincarnated, who always had a hatred for, profound, sincere hatred for Jake, who's being fair to put, on forefront in these last days through his approach of destroying the tribes under the guise of politics, okay, including, these immigration policies and so forth. So let's play a couple more videos. I'm going to go ahead and continuing this. I'm going to pull out this video here by this individual. Dr. G explains in fair use.
Te envié dinero para un boleto de avión. Así vienes a verme.
Remitly te ayuda a estar ahí incluso cuando no puedes.
It seems like you'll do anything for your clients.
Anything.
Would you get a face tattoo?
Licking her lips. There's probably a lot of relief that is over and now she's moving on. Now we're going to move on to a clip of both Pam Bondi and President Trump.
And by the way, Pam Bondi is the Attorney General who was passing out these Epstein file cases that, that former government agent Myron Gaines was bringing out. He was also a, well-known social media personality, and he was further providing insight on as to why the two individuals in the FBI are most likely stepping down because of the disgust of the whole Epstein situation and really the shame that is being casted upon the empire that they believe in, which is America, Babylon the Great. Okay, it's a snare to their souls, and in that case, because in Jeremiah 17:5 it says not to put one's trust in a man. Okay, where our trust in the trust of the elect is in Yahweh by Shem Shai, and this is part of the solid foundation we have to stand on. That solid rock in Deuteronomy 32:4, which is in St. Matthew the 7th chapter, which is Yahweh by Shem Shai, that the rest of the world don't have the luxury of having access to. And this is why people are bugging out, being on edge, losing their minds. And there's further contributing to the overall downfall of the source of people's faith, which is the source of prosperity. Okay, pleasing the false manner of life in this flesh, which is what America represents, a golden city. And this is why ultimately it's very powerful. There's another ensign or end time indication that Esau is falling and falling fast like lightning, as how Shai said. All right, so this is a video of this so-called doctor. I'm not sure who he is, but I just came across his channel, and he provided some interesting insight on the body languages of Epstein and that leprous-headed bimbo Caroline, whatever the hell her name is, Levitt, and her fidgety body language is further indicating that DJT is guilty, okay, of being, being involved in this whole Epstein scandal. All right. And what makes matters worse is that his Attorney General Pam Bondi is passing out those Epstein files, which are supposed to be declassified. But see, this is another reason why women are not supposed to be in a position of rulership. Okay, because they're simple. Okay, and they're very fickle. They fold under pressure. Okay. Now, when they asked her if she was willing to speak on the Epstein situation, despite Trump saying that he didn't want to speak on it, she said she didn't mind. But either way, this is a further example of what happens when you allow women to do your bidding for you. You see, nothing but confusion and mayhem and destruction is inevitable. Okay, and this further contributes to him being exposed. All right. So I'm going to continue.
You can already see the look of disapproval on President licking her lips. There's probably a lot of relief that is over and now she's moving on. Now we're going to move on to a clip of both Pam Bondi and President Trump.
Your memo and release.
You can already see the look of disapproval on President Trump's mouth. When he purses his lips together in this way, that is a distinct look of disapproval.
Your memo and release yesterday, Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary.
That was a look of confusion. You saw her mouth close, her head shake. She was not anticipating they were going to ask about that. There's so many other questions people are concerned about, the client list, all of that kind of stuff. So the idea that he asked about him working for a foreign intelligence agency threw her through a loop.
A American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you?
You can see she's nodding along with this. She does want to make sure that the reporter feels heard. So part of that is she is trying to connect right now because I do think she wants to address this. She wants to get these things out of the way.
Resolve whether or not he did, and also could you say why there was a minute missing?
I think if anybody has already seen this knows that he is getting ready to talk, but you're seeing some precursor to that. You're seeing him prepare for that.
Intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did, and also could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape?
Yeah, sure. If
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about?
So you can see Pam Bondi, she brushed her hair behind her ear after that. We do that to ventilate a little bit when we're starting to feel anxious. Even though she doesn't have an overt sign of anxiety, even though she's nodding, she looks like she's keyed in. There's little things like that that suggest that this is a high stakes, intense situation.
Yeah, sure. If
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all.
So watch President Trump's hands right here.
And that was a weak, evasive tactic for the fact that, in the case of Epstein being associated with the rape of young girls and sex trafficking, which is supposed to be a very shameful thing in America, Babylon the Great, and it's this, this effeminate matriarchy, where sexual, women's lib, associated with sex, sexual liberation, and and as a result of women being exalted in that manner, that much more further, being sought after and protected. Okay, being that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell are known for grooming young girls to essentially be raped, beyond their will and consent, it's a very shameful thing. So what do you mean? What do you mean? Why they still talk about Epstein? So that was very sus. That was a very sus response. All right, but I digress.
All right, so he's got his hands up like this. Now, in some ways, sometimes when people do this, it's a way to say stop. It's also a way to say, look, I haven't done anything wrong. And I don't mean that as in he hasn't done anything related to the Epstein situation. He's trying to say, I made the right decisions here. Like, I'm the one who's in charge. I've made the right decisions. Whatever the DOJ has come to, we need to move on.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
And his body language right here is actually very open. So I know there's a lot of theories about why they think that President Trump is wanting to keep this suppressed or something like that. I don't think, just to be clear from the body language we're seeing, that it's anything like that he's afraid of being exposed for something. I think that it's more that he's afraid that people will see it as a failure on his part, that his administration did something that is incredibly unpopular with everybody, regardless of which side of the political spectrum they're on. This is gravely unpopular, what has happened here.
This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy?
So once again, this is an odd deflection because people don't really care about Jeffrey Epstein. They care about the fact that they believe there are other people that are involved that are roaming free. So that it's a strange deflection, and I'm sure that President Trump knows what people are actually concerned about. So why he's choosing to try to sort of guilt people into thinking about or talking about this right now, or to not talk about these things right now because of what's going on in Texas and all of that, which is incredibly important. It's an incredibly strange and different type of deflection than he normally does.
Creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this.
See, he's using the hands for emphasis. I can't believe you're asking a question. And he's someone who focuses a lot on relationships. He focuses on the person that's sitting in front of him. So he is going to want the journalist to not want to ask questions like that again.
We're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said I was asked a question about the client list, and my response.
So the first you saw the air quotes when it came to client list as though this is something that doesn't exist.
As I said.
Yeah, that's Pam Bondi right there, the Attorney General.
I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file, along with the JFK, MLK files as well.
Now, she's someone who is I said this earlier, she's someone who's very precise when she speaks. So the idea that she would have misspoken or that's not what she meant seems unusual. It would be very surprising that it would be taking her this long to clarify that point.
That's what I meant by that. The file, along.
See, when she said the file, that makes me a little bit concerned that there's something deceptive about the way that she's saying that. She's closing her eyes, she says file, and consciously we're doing that so we don't have to look at the person when we say it.
Sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file, along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein.
So, once again, she's using the same line that Caroline Leavitt did, which is that we're not going to share, we don't want people to see this awful evidence. Nobody's asking. Nobody would want to see that. That has nothing to do with anything that's upsetting anybody.
They were never going to be released, never going to see the light of day.
See, never going to be released. She's saying this aggressively. Focus on what I'm saying right here. This is the message I want you to get when it's immaterial because nobody cares about that. That has nothing to do with anything anybody's ever asked for.
To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video.
So when she says that, I have no knowledge of that. Watch this.
To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you.
I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to that. I actually think that's true. Whether or not she believes it or thinks maybe there's something to that, she does not have information on that, I don't think.
On that, and the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive.
So look at the way she's emphasizing this now. She wasn't moving her hands that much, but now she's really talking about this minute missing. She's looking over at President Trump and Marco Rubio. She is really trying to emphasize this, and I think that she means this. Whether or not you think that's why that minute was cut out, I'm sure plenty of people have their own theories about that, but this is something she believes. She believes that this minute is not cut out for any sort of nefarious reason. She actually does believe that this minute is cut out because that's the way that the software works. We're going to get into that. We're going to see in a second. But as she's looking around at everybody, this is the first time she's trying to connect with other people because she's trying to say, look, this is true. This is really something that's happened.
Showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was.
And she just said the video was not conclusive, which fascinates me. So in other words, they're saying that there's nothing on the video that's conclusive about what happened to him, but I thought they said that the whole video did prove exactly what at least Dan Bongino had said. The video is going to prove our point. The quality is not great, but it proves it. She's saying the video is inconclusive.
Showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that.
See, look how much more animated she is when she's talking about this, because this is something that I think she actually fully believes.
That video is old from like 1999. So every night the video is reset. And every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
And then the smile at the end. We oftentimes do that as a way to punctuate what we're saying to say, I'm not answering anything else about this. Let's stop now. Hopefully this has helped you better understand some.
Yeah, so, her response is all over the place. And so was DJT's. Because ultimately, once again, he's involved in the scandal for a reason. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this last video. Not gonna make it much more longer. But I'm gonna go ahead and play this last video. A few minutes on this platform here.
How
Bible
I
7.
became fluent in Spanish in under a year. Me gustaría un café.
All right, so it's on Dabu 7, Dabu 7's platform, and they're going into more footage of DJT with Epstein. All right. So it's not a good look, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and before I go ahead and play that, I'm going to bring out this quick precept in the book of St. Luke, chapter 12, and verse 2. It says, "For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known." All right. Because hey, man, anything. Why? Because Christina Sirach 23:19, the eyes of the Lord, Yahweh by Shemashai, are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. Let's get another quick precept in what is it? Let me see. The book of Isaiah, chapter 29 and verse 15. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord, Yahweh, by Shemashai, and that works in the dark. And they say, who seeth us and who knoweth us? All right, and this is more so referring to wicked Israelites and the wicked, in the wicked Israelites in the leadership position, the high priests and, and so forth, that abuse their authority. But on the left hand side, dealing with the modern day rulership on behalf of the rulers of the darkness of this world, they're looking for to hide their secret counsel, Satan from the Lord, and from the and from the world for that matter, but more so from the Lord. All right. And because the judgment that's coming to them, man. All right. Which is ultimately the destruction of America, Babylon the Great. Okay. But now within their pride, they're further exposing themselves, such as Yuval Noah Harari saying that they no longer need the idea of God anymore in so many words, and that they can piss off God as much as they possibly as they want, as he said. So this is why this is another example of pride going before destruction and a haughty look before the fall, man. Roughly paraphrasing, Proverbs 16 and 18. All right, so go back to this video.
No doubt this. What do we have here? Gosh. You don't think that this Donald Trump right here, you don't think that this dude right here making his faces and like looking at these women and all this stuff, like, you don't think bodies ain't been dropped just like the Clinton cartel? You don't think? I mean, he's the Don. He is the head of the whole mafia right now. He is the whole head honcho of the whole world. He's the Gentile Messiah. You don't think that people haven't been removed from this place because of his nod, his say-so? You don't think there's not one or two? You don't? You don't? Because I do. Hell, Epstein could be one. It was definitely a conglomerate of people, and look who they put at the top. Him. They tried to say earlier in that clip that they tried to mention Cash and Bongino and the deep state beneath them, like garbage. Not like the apparatus, the beast is in full control of them. They're just players in the position with the title in their name, like musical chairs. They all change up. The real power is in the conglomerate, is in the team behind the curtain, the club. And all this is a show for the people. And I can't believe, really, how arrogant they've been with this one. These cats were hanging out. You want to talk about the way Trump was responding to the Epstein list?
I mean, look at him. He's all over the place. He's walking in. These are different places, all different times, man, where they're hanging out side by side all the time, hand on the shoulder, good buds. Got their ladies together. What they say that he brought Melania to him. So, I mean, this whole circle, look at them sitting here, like all this. Here they are again. This is too much. And even around with your children, it's just to even be caught in the same an image with have your children right next to this pedo. Are you kidding me? Wonder why he's dead, she's in jail, and this dude's running the world. He gets pissed off today when someone brings it up.
Yeah, he's allegedly dead.
You ever watch this video? It's disgusting because, like, they're looking at women, and the way Trump is disgusting. Okay, he is just this, and he's done this his whole life. The way he is, the faces he makes. He's talking about that woman like she's hot. Like, look, he's dancing around, moving his body around. Like, dude, like, I don't know, man. It starts to arouse an anger in me that, like, these are not righteous folks. You know.
Yeah, it's Hebrews 12:16, man. There's not one more profane than Esau. When you look up the word for profane in the Greek in that precept is babeos, meaning ungodly, which lines up with Habakkuk 2:4, how his soul is not lifted upright in him. So this devil, and it also lines up with Psalm 50:16 on down to 17, which says there, "What is thou to do to declare my statutes? Thou shalt bear more and more." So he's not. This devil's not capable of righteousness. Okay. And everyone on the side of the body of the elect of Yasharallah are having that, come to the grips of this reality, becoming more privy to this devil's satanic devices, and that there's something off with his spirit. That's why the world is rising up against him.
They don't believe in Jesus, let me tell you that. He can buffalo the crowd.
That's 1 John 2:18. To be the very last time we'd be in the midst of these antichrists, so to say, so many words, meaning anti-anointed ones, because they don't believe in the anointed one. That's why this guy, DJT, converted to Judaism, which Judaism, okay, is a spinoff of the law, statutes, commandments through a vain custom, okay, which I'm not going to go too much into history for that, for the sake of time, but I did a recent lesson on that. But nonetheless, and how, which is associated with Amalek, right? The head, the head family of the nation Edom, okay, who likes to spit on so-called Christians, man, and believes to be, which the real Christian Israelites, but nonetheless, they like to, but nonetheless, they really, they don't believe in the Messiah. They believe in the Messiah as a son of a whore, all right, and they refer to the Messiah as a, like a warlock, and people who worship him as idolaters. So yeah, they are so-called antichrists. Okay, that's why the DJT, is for doing the bidding for Amalek, using our tax-paying dollars to fund the Israeli Defense Forces to keep that facade going that they're supposedly the chosen people. Because these are people that are running the world, pursuing of Job 9:24. All right.
I would say this or that, but you'll tell them about their fruits. And when you go looking at this penthouse suite, it's full of the fallen, Apollo, Zeus, Artemis. Do you know anything about that? Okay? It's not just, one spot. It's all over the place. Literally, it's all over the place. It's statues sitting on the table. It's pictures on the wall. It's the freaking mural on the ceiling. It's Zeus and his offspring, the fallen. It's who they really worship. Do you understand this? It's the real deal, man. Trump. All right, I'm gonna play this part real quick. If there's no client list, what about this lady? What about this victim? What about all the victims? What about this?
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what she, Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes. And I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being raped over and over and over again. And yes, Ghislaine must die in prison because I've been in hell and back for the last 17 years.
In 27 for me.
I was 10 years old when Liz Stein was being trafficked. I was 10. That is how long the sex trafficking ring has been going on. I have...
That is crazy. Okay? Watch out for this woman, too. Because Sarah Ransom, she'd be the next one gone, just like Guthrie. She just told you straight up. She was getting raped multiple times a day. This was happening then when she was 10. Are these people in prison? No, because of the world elite. If no, I mean, this is a victim. I guess it doesn't matter. None of them do. None of them do. What's this?
I've known Paris Hilton from the time she's 12. She's hot. Her parents are friends of mine, and the first time I saw her, she walked into the room and said, "Who the hell is that?"
Old school Trump
banger. She's
Howard Stern.
Well,
Yeah, so this is old footage in the 90s. DJT being on his on Howard Stern's radio show, which Howard Stern is another condom hat gutter rat himself. Hence why he's such a damn degenerate. Known to have all kinds of harlots. And come on there. He even had two Israelites come on there and cut him up. And expose him as a fraudulent JEW. So that's very spiritual. That his name comes up again, because that just reminded me of that. But it's not a coincidence that Trump goes on Howard Stern's platform, being that Howard Stern is another small hat man. Okay. Hence why it's not a coincidence that DJT is associated with sexual deviancy and degeneracy. Because that is the true nature of Esau, especially Amalek, okay, running the pornography industry and so forth, OnlyFans, okay, because that perverse spirit of sexual decadence and deviancy derives back to the pagan Roman Empire, okay, that was prevalent for sexual deviancy and decadence through whoredom and orgies, okay. Men being exposed to other men, which is complete wickedness, because of sodomy, and vice versa with the women being exposed to other women and trading off within these freak-offs, these orgies. Okay, this is the lifestyle that DJT is associated with, and that goes back to the pagan Roman Empire, because in Revelation, the 13th chapter, prophesies how the splitting image of that very empire is America, Babylon the Great. So this is all for exposing Esau, Edom, be the devil the Bible speaks of.
well, I've known Paris Hilton from the time she's 12. She's hot. Her parents are friends of mine, and the first time I saw her, she walked into the room and said, "Who the hell is that?"
That's why this devil, Howard Stern, asked Trump that he want to bang Paris Hilton, despite the fact that Trump just said that she was 12 when he met her. I digress.
Did you want to bang her? She is at 12, I wasn't interested. I've never been into that.
That was wise of him to say that, to clean it up. All right. Because Esau has no chill, man. He's a degenerate. He's a reprobate. All right.
Always stuck around that 25 category. But even at 12, you were kind of I saw her at 12, she was beautiful. But honestly, Paris gets knocked and this and that. But she's very beautiful. She's flawless. She's dumb like a fox. Have you seen the video, the sex video? I have seen it. You did? What'd you do? You went on the internet? It was just. How did you see that? What did you do? Melania showed it to me. She did? She showed it to me. What did you think of that? I think it's probably unfortunate, and perhaps it made... What is that? I've known Paris Hilton from the time...
Can you believe this? This is on record. Missy, you're fired. long before he was going to be president there, on Howard Stern. Yeah, saw the Paris sex tapes. You're sitting there watching sex tapes of these people with Melania. That's the type of guy Donald Trump is. Got it from Melania. Oh, y'all want to make her an angel and all this stuff. Like, get out of here. She's right in the mix with all this satanic stuff. Like, man, let Post Malone tell you something.
The biggest lie is the U.S. government. It's not what it used to be. Now it's a fucking reality show, and I think there's going to be a lot of weird shit that happens within our lifetime and within our generation that really changes the way of the world. So move somewhere, because whenever martial law is declared, you have whenever your cards fail, whenever your banks fail, and you can't use your card anymore, you have 3 days to get out of where you are, because that's when they're coming for you. That's the big move. That's checkmate right there. And they think they have you. But move out to the country, get your scraps, stand up for yourself, build a tower, build a long road to where you can see them coming, and don't give up. The biggest lie is the U.S. government.
Notice what he said. He echoes something that I've told you for the longest time. They're about to pull off an event where your car don't work.
That's why next week, it's reported Esau's having something called Crypto Week or Cryptocurrency Week. That's another reason why I came out. Billy Badass Gates wants to chip babies. Okay, and I just reposted a video from a brother going into that, and Elder Pastor Hard went and touched on that as well. So we're living in a time, man. This dystopian future, which is going to be reality soon, or the totalitarian technocracy where everyone's lives regulated through this AI interface or infrastructure of the, of this mark of the beast technology, which is that chip. So that's the next major prophecy. All right.
Hear what he said? And that you got 3 days. You don't think Post Malone don't know something? In that clip, he let it out.
Yeah, because he's an insider, man. That's why they endorse Post Malone. Even though he's I've only known one song from him, and I've only heard one song from him. But he's an insider. That's why he has a scoop of everything that's going on, and it ended up leaking. All right, on his behalf at least, but which is information that we already know about. Those in the know, but having all been said, this devil's through, man. Let's get Jeremiah 49:10. It says, "But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not." Okay, but that time of spoiling is coming, man. All right, it says here, all right, because he's being exposed, okay, for destroying the earth. All right. Isaiah 33:1. "Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee." All right, on behalf of the worst of the heathen, as it says in Ezekiel 20th chapter, they're going to defile the brightness of this devil Esau Edom by destroying him, man. All right, with thermonuclear weapons. All right, that's why China just has been supplying Pakistan and Iran with weapons, because they have a mutual understanding with destroying the common denominator of the world's provoked catastrophe, mayhem, and confusion, compromising of their sovereign, their own respective sovereignties and shit. So they're going to exact vengeance on this beast, this whore, okay, by unleashing fire upon it, as is prophesied. And then we're coming into these end time prophecies, including the mark of the beast, the next one, and then Hamagadawan soon after that. All right, in the midst of those end time prophecies, we're gonna witness the prophecy, the famine of the word, where the prophets are demonized for exposing this devil, and uplifting the righteous instruction, and end time prophecies of Yahweh by Shemeshai. Okay, that is going to be considered anti-establishment for exposing Esau to be the devil. All right, so because of his nature, is being used as a testament against him, or testimony against him. So this is Job 15:5. It says, "For thy mouth uttered thine iniquity, and thou choosest the tongue of the crafty. Thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yea, thine own lips testify against thee." All right, including Pam Bondi saying that she had the Epstein files, and then all of a sudden they're backtracking and acting as if it's declassified again. Why bring it up? Because there is a list, and DJT is on it. See? So this is Psalm 12:8. So they drink iniquity like water, man, sin upon sin. That's hence why that's a part of his one of his aliases, man of sin, in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, because sin is a lifestyle, and it's been sensationalized through his satanic devices, through his politics and so forth. That's why they have something called slut shaming. You shame a woman for being a harlot, you're slut shaming. What kind of madness is that? You get on an obese person for minding their weight and getting on a diet and being more healthy to stay alive longer. You're fat shaming them. So this is the world we're living in. This perverse Western culture, mainly in America, Babylon the Great, which is more so prevalent in America, Babylon the Great. Okay. So this is Psalm 12:8. It says, "The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted." All right, which is the most profane and vile individual to ever exist, which is Esau, Edom, in Hebrews 12:16. All right. And this is why shameful spewing is being casted upon his glory, because he's been exposed. This is Habakkuk 2:15. And it says, "Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that puttest thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord Yahweh by Shemeshai's right hand shall be turned into thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory." So shameful spewing being casted on you glory for looking to make the world drunken off of your wine fornication, your Western philosophy. Okay, including the alternative alphabet mafia lifestyle that you try to push on Uganda through Kamala Harris. Hence why the IMF threatened to cut them off economically if they didn't accept that agenda. You see, for a further example. All right. So the entire world, like it says in Jeremiah 51st chapter, man, they're being made mad. Mainly the kings of these nations being mad, being in that frenzy-like state of sobering up off of that wine of fornication that you have sought out to force them that you have caused them to drink, and forced the entire world to drink. Now people are sobering up off of the effects of that wine of fornication, your Western philosophy, and they're seeing you for who you really are, and that's why you're being exposed. That's why the light of the wicked is being put out from his lamp. All right. This is Deuteronomy 32:32. It says, "For their vine is of the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter." Okay. Their foundation is bitter. Okay. Which in this parable of clusters, being that clusters, produces grapes, what? Their fruit is fruitless, is wicked. It's not profitable for salvation. Hence why they are the vine of Sodom. They are the modern day vine of Sodom, the further byproduct of a degenerate lifestyle. In the case of sodomy, these are sex trafficking and whoredom and actual sodomy that they have legalized throughout all 50 states in America, Babylon the Great, as of 10 years ago under the Obama administration. Okay. Justified by the devil, Esau, Edom. This is verse 33. Their wine is the poison of dragons, and the cruel venom of asps. Okay. So their wine is like a deadly venom. It can poison you, it can contaminate you, defile and taint you to be a degenerate and a reprobate like them. Okay. This is Psalm 58. Start from the top. And it says, do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? Yea, in heart you work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. Why? Because the earth was given to the hands of the wicked, which is part of the blessing of Esau, to obtain the fatness of the land through his blessing, which further identifies who he is. This is verse 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. See? Including DJT lying about the whole Epstein situation, using plausible deniability, which is a clever political tactic to not necessarily or to indirectly lie about something by just pleading the fifth, essentially. Okay? And it's all a part of the vile, profane nature of you Edomites that's further exposing you. Verse 4, here's the point. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth their ear. A deaf adder is a poisonous or venomous serpent or snake. Hence the very characteristics of a snake likened to the serpent, the old ancient serpent called the old ancient serpent, okay, which is this dragon mentioned in Revelation, the 12th chapter, on behalf of this beast system, Esau, Edom, okay, who moves like a subtle serpent, a conniving, habitual, blatant liar, and scoundrel, and manipulator, and murderer. This is what is further exposing his true nature. This is why it says here in Isaiah 27:1, in that day the Lord Yahweh Shemashai with a sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Okay, this is not talking about the actual serpent Leviathan, all right, that Esau has, made that Godzilla movie off of. This is a parable of that old ancient serpent called the devil, that dragon, okay, the self-proclaimed white man, Esau, Edom, being slain in the sea within the firmament, in the midst of the war in the heavens, the war in heaven prophesied in Revelation, the 12th chapter, going into the war between the realms in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, between Yahushua and his angels and Esau and his angels. Angels meaning messengers through his military, and they're going to be slaughtered by Yahushua and his angels. This is how this crooked serpent Leviathan is going to be slain in the sea. Okay, because he has destroyed the earth. And this is the penalty for destroying the earth. Pursuing Revelation 11 and 18. So I'm going to end it off on that note. Pray this lesson is further edifying, exhorting to elect, and give all praises, glory, infinite honor to my power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom is the God of the living, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Barach, Chodash. All right. Once again, double honor to the apostles and elder bishops, great millstone, for teaching really well, and shalom to the elect. All right. And Mawatha Lababal, soon and very soon. All right. On to the next one.